Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, I've got two great guests that we're going to talk all kinds of good geek stuff. We've got new comics to share, and of course, we're talking a little bit about this guy right here, the old God of Thunder, and frankly, what I'm most excited about, the premiere of The Goats of Thunder, right after this. Hey everybody, happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I'm your Fanatic and host, George Bueller. So good to have y'all with us again this week here. We got all kinds of good geek stuff to talk about. We are having a literal 3-host crossover here on the Fanatic Forum here tonight, so I'm excited about that. We got all kinds of good comics to share with you guys. Of course, we'll be talking about whatever kind of geek stuff that just happens to pop up on our radar. But yeah, so all sort of that, but let's just get on with the show here and introduce first and foremost, you know him because he's been on the show before, my new geek brother in arms, the host of, and I quote, and co-host of the Back Issue Breakfast Club, your friend and mine, Ryan Permisson. I can't talk today.
No, you can't because you're all thored out. But listen, it's good to be here. It's good to see you. I'm also the co-host of Comic Books, the New Class, with one half of Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, Krayley Vanessa. Krayley, if you're watching this, I love you, girl. In a brotherly, sisterly way, because you've got the love of your life. I'm not going to intrude on that. See, this is getting weird already. I've been here for 2 seconds. Let's just say this, Krayley, we love you as a collective here at back at the Cereal Box. That's the best thing to say. But it's good to be here, man. Thanks for having me. This is going to be one ruckus of a ride.
It sure is. And speaking of a ride here, and of course, I said there's going to be a 3-host crossover here. So coming over to us from the Cosplay Cafe, making her Fanatic Forum debut here, Andrea, wonderful.
Hello. Look, everybody that watches me on the Cosplay Cafe can finally see what I look like out of a costume.
There's real hair.
This is all mine. Here you go. That goes under those wigs.
Man.
But what would I be without at least a little cosplay piece? And
I know that helmet is gorgeous. So
here we go.
That's a nice looking helmet.
It's a little heavy. It's 3D printed, but she makes a beautiful mantelpiece. So
yeah. So how's everybody doing?
Doing well, man. Happy Flashback Friday. It's good to be back.
Andrew, how are you?
I am pretty good. Been a busy day, but we're here. So.
We're gonna need another drink for this, folks.
Look, we jokingly say we're trying to get Dr. Pepper to sponsor the Cosplay Cafe because I drink enough on there. So.
Yeah, I must have drank myself about 15 Dr. Peppers.
Yes. Look, okay, I am in the South, but I am not that far south.
Okay, all right. That was
Tennessee, not quite Alabama.
Yeah,
not quite that far south.
Okay. Yeah, I was just quoting from the '94 film Forrest Gump. It's no big deal.
Look, I say, it's very appropriate for me to cosplay Rogue because I'm down here in the South, right before the Mississippi border. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh.
So.
Yeah,
we're down here in the South.
Love it.
I was slinging paper all day at the my local comic book store. So.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad place to sling paper.
I know, seriously, you're surrounded by nerdom. What's better than that?
I know, he's making it sound like it's suffering.
Yeah.
No, not whatsoever. I mean, that's the thing too. There's sometimes I'll come home and I'm sore or whatnot. And I'm like, I worked in a comic book store all day. I don't care.
It's great.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I've been mostly for the last week or so. We've had all this back stock. It's like the last year and a half sort of stuff. And so I've been pricing all that, getting out on the sales floor, all that jazz, getting organized. So I'm going to go with a little indie stuff. So I'm almost finished with that. But the really exciting stuff is that downstairs in our basement, where we got some storage, there are 3 pallets worth of long boxes.
Jeez.
And God
That
knows
sounds like
what-
heaven.
Can we have some of those?
Is that Valhalla? That's Valhalla, right? That's where you go when you die. The basement full of just long boxes.
I could do for some more lighting down there because, like, though there's like 3 pallets of Wonderful, it has the lighting of like a Saw movie.
Oh no! You need better lighting, bro.
Well, it's a
And at least they're no fading on the comics though. So
No.
you're good there.
Need to get you some extra lights though.
Well, I mean, it's basically we've got a processing area that we've set up that once I can start working on that stuff, then I'm gonna be doing that. But I can't wait. I can't wait because, like I said, that could be anything down there. Because Clobbering Comics is always buying collections, so there you go. If you got stuff to sell, man, they're buying, and I'm processing it, so I always end up coming home with a lot of things.
That's the dangerous part of the job.
Yeah.
Paycheck's gone real fast.
Yeah. I'll say, I don't know if you guys, let me grab this real quick. I don't know if you guys got to see the show last week, but we had someone come in with some books that their grandparents bought or their parents bought in the 90s. And it's all Golden Age stuff. And so I've never seen one of these in the wild, and now I have the pleasure of owning Captain America issue 48.
Jeez. Look at that cover, man.
It's a
my
little
heart.
That's some deep cut Captain America.
But a little chewed up for books from then are practically mint condition because there's so few of them.
Yeah.
I know, and this is pre-Marvel Captain America. This is
Jeez.
Yeah.
That is some crazy stuff right
there.
there.
This is how my family got into comics. Ryan's kind of heard a little bit of the story. My dad was a big Superman fan. My dad was born the year that Captain America came out. My dad was born in 1941. Yeah. He had a lot of those comics. He had the first appearance of Superman.
Yeah.
And then when he moved out of his parents' house, my grandparents went, "What do you want us to do with these?" And he goes, "Just throw them out." So he didn't know that they were going to be worth anything.
You're worth a gold mine. Yeah.
Yeah, he had no idea.
I
so
my dad.
Oh, my sound went away. Hold on. My audio, my earbuds decided to die on me.
That's sad.
So
at least we can still hear you though.
Yeah, you can hear me. I have a separate mic, but my earbuds, even though they were charging, decided to die on me. So. But here we are.
My dad did a very similar. They had a similar thing where he had a collection for a while. He and his brothers, and I think one of the brothers kept some of his books. I don't know if he still has them or not, but Dad got rid of all his, and he was into Iron Man and some of the early Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
it's funny. He didn't tell me when I really started getting hardcore to collecting that he had the first issue of Blue Beetle, which he's like, I hated the book. It was terrible. I threw it away. And I was like, he's like, how much is that worth? Like, mint condition, $64,000. This was like in the 80s. And so, what? So
that was my dad. We went to Wizard World in Chicago in 2000 when it was the only Wizard World around, and he saw one of those Superman comics, and he asked the guy how much it was, and he just turned and looked at us with the most defeated look on his face, and he goes, "Guys, we would have been rich." And he's like, but nobody knew, because when the boom happened in the 90s, when everybody just started like stockpiling, it's like, guys, those comics aren't going to be worth anything. There's a ton of them. These are worth so much because there's only a couple left around. Kids threw them out when they were done.
Yeah.
Collectors didn't exist back then.
And that 90s Image stuff is still, filled with dollar bins. Like if a couple like the first issues of Spawn, some of those are still kind of collector's items, but there's still, you can still find a number one real easy. Funny thing with Spawn is like there's a run of like the late hundreds and the late 200s where the print run got real low and people stopped caring.
Yeah.
And then so those books are like high dollar books because of just the rarity of them. Nothing really, probably fantastic. I mean, there's probably some stuff that happens, but nothing like huge. But
no world-changing storylines. But I tell people I collect comics because I love them, not because I'm expecting to sell them off someday. It's the long boxes are full of books that I wanted because I wanted them, not because I'm speculating the market or anything.
Yeah. Well, and Ryan, you've said before that you got into comics because of the movies and the TV shows.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. Yeah, once the MCU really started booming and like other stuff was happening at the time, and the DCEU was trying to establish itself, which unfortunately didn't do so well. Especially with the stuff that's going on now with a certain actor in Hollywood. Good God, that guy's out of his mind. But yeah, no, it's been a blast, man. I've loved the ride. You know, I've read good, I've read some not so good. But I'm diving back into the well and trying to learn as much as I can because there's a lot of history. Granted, I'm not going to read all 5 billion, but I'm gonna read something. And granted, if you tune into Comic Books the New Class, # always promote your stuff, you may learn a thing or two because we've read a thing or two.
That's
so there
right.
you go.
I mean, that's how it is. Like my brother, when my sister-in-law wanted to start getting into comics, my youngest brother looked through. She's like, "Where do I start? Do I start at the beginning?" He's like, "No, you're not going to be able to get to the beginning," because he fell in love with the Winter Soldier with the Captain America movie, and he's like, "Yeah, if you want to like the Winter Soldier," he says, "you can't go back to his origins because you have to go back to the very beginning with Captain America." He's like, "Just pick up a book and go." He's like, "Just pick up one that looks interesting and dive in." You know, they say, don't judge a book by its cover, but that's the point of the cover.
We do it
to
anyway.
Draw you in.
We do it anyway. We always tell people never to judge, but we do it anyway because if the cover looks hot and glorious, like that one, even though
Art Germ covers.
But if it looks good, you're like, dude, shut up and take my money. I want to read this now.
Yeah, though I will take funky art over bad writing. If there's a little bit funky art but an amazing story, because if the story's not good, I put it down and don't finish it, so I don't even get to look at the rest of the pretty art.
It's fair. But it's
I do love the artists. I mean, I've got an artist brother. I've got a writer brother. So
yeah, you got nerdy people in your family, which is cray-cray because no one in my family is nerdy but me. Which is
look, my mom even cosplays with me, and she's 73 years old. So
see, like, there's no way my mama bear would be caught dead.
Okay, my mom in a comic book convention I don't know how she has conned some of these dealers into these deals that she's gotten. Like, my mom has come back with stacks of books. She's like, "I only paid like $20 for this." And we're like,
"How did you do it?"
Like, take us with you next time? I was like, "What are you going to do? Not say no to my 73-year-old mom?"
I wish I could get like 100 books for $20. That would be nice.
She's a master at it. I don't know what she does, but it's impressive.
Get those Jedi mind tricks going on in that family of yours.
We do like Star Wars too, so.
That's another thing I enjoy. Thank you.
Yeah, or does she play off like the sweet grandma? Oh, I want to these for my kids, or I'm just kind of looking at it, and so just kind of like
for my great grandkids.
No, mom is she just goes, "Hey, I picked all these books up. Make me a deal," and that's what she does.
You know, I need to start traveling with your family more to conventions.
Well, come on down here to Memphis, and you can come to a couple of cons down here, and mom will go.
I've never been to the state of Tennessee, so this would be new territory for me.
Well, mom will go vendor shopping with you then.
Woo! I love the vendors area because vendors are great people and they deserve support too. So support small businesses, people.
Yeah, I love Memphis. I haven't been in a real long time. Matter of fact, my wife and I were going to take a trip before COVID happened because she's never been to Memphis. And I haven't been in 15 or some odd years. So
you and I, we got to get down there, man.
Yeah, it's cool too.
I just stopped for a second.
We got to do some travel. We got to do a back of the cereal box world tour. You know,
we keep saying that we're all going to take a tour of all the Memphis people from down here up to the Wine and Cheese Castle in Wisconsin with Kelly. So,
oh God,
that's going to be our plan.
That's going to be one heck of a trip, George.
We got a lot of Memphis folks between hosts and guests we've had. So
it's amazing how many of you live in Tennessee.
Well, Johnny's going to be in my neck of the woods this weekend because he's going to be at Imaginarium. So he's going to be in Louisville.
Nice.
45 minutes for me, but he has to go past my living town to get there. Yeah. So I'll wave.
Away from afar, yeah.
Well, I've got a packed weekend because I'm taking my niece and nephew to see Thor tomorrow, and of course my wife's going as well. So it's already our second time. We watched it last night. Yeah. So we both enjoyed it. So I
have my ups and down feelings about it, but I won't say too much.
Yeah, I really, to me, it was, handled, like the darkness of, the last movie Ragnarok was kind of well handled with the comedy and the, dark subject matter, and we get more of the same with that again. There were some parts I could have done a little more with, with basically, I could have gone with more gore in there. He was, in there enough, but I could have gone with him a little more. The whole beginning where you get Thor hanging out with the Guardians, I could have done with a lot more of that.
I could have done with a lot less of that.
Wow, look at these conflicting opinions.
I love the comics for the Guardians of the Galaxy. I am not a fan of the movies. The first one I will watch again. The second one I have seen twice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't vibe with them. And like I said, if other people enjoy them, great. I don't want to take anyone's joy away. They just, okay, one of my biggest complaints is I don't like what they did with Mantis. I love her in the comics, and she's nothing but the butt of the joke, and she's a very serious character in the comics, and I'm also missing Cosmo. I need more Cosmo. You're supposed to have the Russian cosmonaut dog on the team.
I would love to have him, be more involved in the team and whatnot, because it's just
all we saw was a little quick bit of him in the first one, and that was it.
You get a little flash from again in the second, but still, it's like, if we can get past a walking, talking tree and a creature that resembles a raccoon but isn't exactly a raccoon, that's quite surly.
I do like Rocket. I do think he has been done well in the movies. I enjoy Rocket, but the rest of it, I'm not as.
Yeah, it's like if we can get past those two characters and get America to wrap their hands and hearts around those guys, then we can bring in a telepathic cosmonaut dog.
They're making a Super Pets movie over at DC, so, clearly the pets are getting love over there.
These aren't the pets, okay? Cosmo kind of runs things, okay? He's
not. Listen, this just shows what little I know about this universe, because Marvel, it's too much.
There's a lot.
This is basically from the Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning run of Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of like the early 2000s.
Yes. My brother refers to it as the DNA run.
Yeah. That's I love that run.
I love it. And the one character I really, really want to see in the Guardians, but because of the whole Micronauts problem, we probably will never see Bug.
Yeah. I mean, the
only Bug is amazing.
Yeah, it's like, unless we get like a flat, because I am convinced we're going to see the Micronauts in the next Ant-Man movie.
Yes.
Because we got some form of them, because like we're going to the quantum realm and going to hang out in there for a long period of time. That's their house. That's their home. It's like, so yeah.
I want to see Bug. I love Bug. He's such an amazing character. Oh, and now Thor says hi, everybody.
Hey, Thor.
Sorry, my boys are a little
not the movie. Chris Hemsworth is not here tonight.
I wish.
Even though Andrea and George are probably passed out, but
yes.
Well, and my wife's hanging over at a friend's house right now. If Chris showed up, I would be probably like single, and Chris would have a stalker.
Yeah,
or like like Jason Momoa showed up or something like that. So
look, we'll take Thor however we can get Thor. We'll take him as the Odin son. We'll take him as Jane. Take him as a frog.
Yeah,
I kind of love frog.
Stranger things have happened in the Marvel universe. No pun intended. Stranger Things that just dropped recently on Netflix.
And I don't know if y'all caught this or not, but Thor: Love and Thunder has been a Hemsworth family affair, because of course Luke Hemsworth is in there playing the actor Thor.
I love that part. I love him playing Thor and Matt Damon playing Loki.
You mean Matt Damon?
It's
not Matt Damon. It's Matt Damon.
It's so ridiculous and perfect, and I love it.
And sorry to spoil this. Melissa McCarthy as Hela is an inspired choice.
It was interesting.
Really? Is that true? Wow.
Yes. Oh my God! It's like that's another scene I would like to go on for a lot longer. Natalie Portman claims there's a lot on the cutting room floor of this movie. So
Well, because Taika Waititi loves to improv,
I'm not
and
surprised.
so
Not
there's
surprised.
probably so many.
Probably a 6-hour extended cut they'll put out on Blu-ray next month.
Yeah. Coming to Disney Plus next week.
Or Disney Plus. It'll be on Disney Plus next month anyway, too. So it's like, hey, you saw this version, now see this one.
Yeah, they're like, so are you going to sit through it and watch the 12-hour run? Yes. Yes,
Probably.
we are.
Some of us will.
But speaking aside from Luke, Chris Hemsworth's wife is in the movie.
Really? Elsa's in there? No
Yeah.
kidding.
Also, one of his twin sons and his daughter is in the movie.
Yep. And he's the executive producer on this one, so.
Yeah.
Boy, Chris, you've been holding out on me, brother. I didn't get this memo.
Yeah. Yeah. And his daughter is like, okay, I got a feeling she's going to steal the show in a later project. So because she kind of, the brief part she's in the movie, she kind of steals it. So it's like, okay, we got some on our hands here.
Well, I mean, she's bound to have at least a little bit of talent because, you know, both of her parents are very accomplished actors. So
Talent runs in the family in Hollywood.
Yeah. Some Australian genes running thick in there.
I still can't get over Chris making a quick cameo during a weather report in Australia. Remember that woman was like trying to talk about the weather, and then Chris just walked past her. Do you remember that? There was a news station in Australia. He's like, so we got some horses we have over here in the paddock. Whoa, what are you doing? And then she's like, we're trying to do the weather. Like, and he just like took over the whole thing. It was hilarious. Look it up. It's on YouTube, Andrew. It's on YouTube.
He has great comedic timing. I will say that as much as I wish they would have cut back some of the humor, his timing is great.
And I like how in like some of his other movies outside of Marvel stuff, he's found that and kind of brought that into the Thor movies.
He can do very good dramatic, but he can do very good comedy too.
Well, a great example of that is a rare remake of a classic comedy that I think is on par is the Vacation remake. Not sure if y'all ever saw this. It is really, really funny. I would highly recommend seeing an unrated version if you can, because there's even more stuff in there. But basically, this is the grown-up Rusty from the Vacation franchise, and it's his family trying to recreate a Wally World.
Yeah. Christina Applegate, I think, is his wife in this
Rusty is played by... Ed Helms is Rusty. Christina Applegate's the wife. Clark and Ellen do make a cameo appearance. Chris Hemsworth is Audrey's husband.
Oh, Audrey got hitched. Okay. I didn't know that was canon. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, Audrey got hitched to a highly conservative TV weatherman played by Chris Hemsworth, who loves showing off his physical gift.
Yeah, I saw in the trailer, George. You don't have to remind me. Yeah, do not remind me of that stuff, man. Whatever. But hey, Andrew, you can make that your Saturday night movie night. Who cares? You'll have fun with it, I'm sure.
There's a couple awkward poses that he does in that movie. That's kind of like, I can't.
Did they really just do that?
Like a deer in headlights kind of thing. It's like, why am I staring at this? So
anyway,
enough penis talk. Let's talk comics.
we kind of on and off. Look, it's just like on the Cosplay Cafe. Our train is never on the tracks. It's somewhere out in the desert, away from the tracks.
Right. So basically, every time you show up, you pull a Christopher Lloyd. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Or complete logical train of thought.
Maybe that too. I don't know. But we love you all the same on Cosplay Cap.
Yeah, it's a little bit of probably undiagnosed ADHD going on.
Probably. I've seen some episodes. Trust me, I've seen them. You've seen me in the comments.
A guest on our show.
I've seen a few things in my life. Yeah. I know. I feel like I've been a guest on almost every show on this network. I don't think I'm missing any. Well, except I haven't been on Cryptid Crunch, but that's a whole other ball of wax.
Have you been on the Ice Cream Queens yet?
No, I haven't been on that. But those are some cool cats. Those women. Those are some cool cats.
Oh yes, those are some more local Memphis ladies. So.
Yeah. Again, Yeah, more reasons why we should all we should all go to Tennessee one day. Anyway.
I personally, I'd like to be on the Ice Cream Queens.
I would like to be on that too. They sound like a good group of people.
Well,
Talk horror and eat ice cream.
Well, I'm in a lot of the same horror stuff when they're in like talking about like serial killers and true crime stuff too. So I watch the show, get into it anyway. But I wish I got into the cosplay stuff because there's some people who are surprised that I'm not because I'm a tall guy and I've got
and
a
you have 50,000 nerdy shirts.
Well, but yeah, I just I don't know. I think it just I did like a little bit of cosplay, did like some costumes stuff like that when I was younger. But then I kind of just I don't know, maybe it was like self-conscious. It was not a body positive sort of thing like that. Yeah. So I just decided not to do it, and I just never got.
I understand that roller coaster.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the Cosplay Cafe is here to help you, George.
That's what we're here for. Is body positivity. Everybody can cosplay. I started 20 years ago. I've been doing it for 20 years and started at a size 4 and now a 14. So I've been through the roller coaster of body positivity, going, I shouldn't do this. Who cares? Have fun.
Yeah.
It's fun though.
I did lose like a little bit of weight a few years back. So I don't know. Maybe now I could totally pull off the sad Thor in armor, so I can pull that off.
Nice.
He gave a lot of people a reason to go. You know what? I can be a superhero. If Thor could do it, I love when he turned into the Viking look at the end of Endgame. He didn't get ripped. He still had he was overweight, but the hair and the look.
Yeah, the dad bod. Yeah,
the dad bod, but he was a Viking warrior, and I loved that. That was so cool to me.
I marked out over his beard twisting up. I was like, oh yeah, get the beard going. Yeah.
Yes.
Get
the beard.
Yeah, there was so many moments definitely in Endgame where I was really, really marking out so much. So yeah. Actually, here my buddy Andre is saying that I can be Peacemaker. If
Go right ahead, man. John Cena's, I'm sure he'd support you. He's all over the place.
Ooh, he says I could be one of the Warriors 3. Yeah, I'm just going to be
Volstagg.
Volstagg. Yeah. I was trying to think.
I've thought about doing a Sif cosplay before, so
do it.
We can do the whole Lady Sif and Warriors 3.
Whatever happened to her? Does she show up in this one? Does Lady Sif show up in this one?
She does.
Oh, finally, Jamie Alexander. Where the frack have you been, woman?
I loved when she did those 2 episodes in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the first 2 seasons when she cameoed. Those were some of the best. I loved her coming in as Sif.
She's a talented actress. I've known her since her Kyle XY on ABC Family Days.
She
Jamie,
is.
I love you a lot. Get more jobs, woman.
And in Ragnarok, I kept waiting for her to show up, and she never did. And I'm like,
anything in the MCU in a long time until apparently you just told me that she drops like hell in Love and Thunder. Okay, great, Jamie, great, but more stuff. You need more jobs. I want to see you in more movies.
And the only reason why she wasn't in Ragnarok is because she was doing her show. Was it the
Blind Spot?
Yeah.
Blind Spot. I watched that. I watched that show the first season, maybe 2, I think it was, and then I just kind of I was like, okay.
It was one of those I always thought about watching and never made it.
It's good the first season or 2, but after season 2, I'm like, there's really nowhere to go. Just end the story. But then they kept giving it more and more seasons. It's like, yeah, no. Some things in life known as television should be miniseries, not full-length 22-episode seasons. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look what Disney Plus does. Every one of their shows is 8 episodes and then done. You can make a tight show with a tight storyline. It can be done. Just map it out. Draw a bloody map. It's not that hard. So, Jamie Alexander, I've loved you since the first moment I met you in Kyle XY. I want to see you do more in Hollywood. Do more movies, girl, because you are a badass.
I love her as Lady Sif, and I need more of Lady Sif because she's a badass.
And to be perfectly honest with you, let me tell you something about Thor. I actually thought that Lady Sif was going to end up with Thor after Dark World because they hinted at it. They hinted at a romantic intertwininess, freakiness.
Sometimes in the comics
and Thor, and I'm like, that is perfect.
She is Thor's wife in Norse mythology. Lady Sif is his wife.
Okay.
And they've had some stuff in the comics, but
at least she succeeded in the comics, but they never did it in the movies. I'm like, why didn't you? Because Jamie Alexander and Hemsworth together, that could work.
Yeah, in the comics, Thor was either always involved with Jane or he'd be involved with Sif. or sometimes Enchantress would get thrown in there a couple of times.
Yeah. She likes to get in there and mix things up.
There's been a few dalliances there too, so
Yeah. Thor is definitely a little bit both of a feminist and a himbo all at the same time. So.
Hey, at least my mind was thinking that, because I was like, they were hinted at in the movies.
Yeah, no, it's been a thing like both in in mythology and in comics. So
I did not know that, because I haven't read every comic that's been made. Unlike you two.
I haven't read that far back, but it's stuff that I know from other things.
Andre says Thor was a
pimp.
Thor is a feminist. There is in one of the Jason Aaron run comics that he leads an entire charge with Frigga and Sif, and like it's just tons of women heroes going to help Jane before he even knew that Jane was the new Thor.
Okay, see, that is something I would actually want to read.
It's in this. Once again.
Okay, see, now you got to send me that title in a messenger. So
this is a trade.
No, I'm cool with that. I prefer the trades anyway, so just hit me up in the messenger on Facebook with the titles.
Yes, no, it's maybe if I can find the page in here.
Yeah, between my Thor and Conan the Barbarian influences, I was heavily influenced by feminist barbarians. So there you go.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, George, all's fair, man.
Like I said, if you go back and read Robert E. Howard's stuff, like his original stories, it's very interesting.
Solomon Kane.
What's that?
Solomon Kane is great stuff too.
Yeah. But it's really interesting how, they'll have the damsel in distresses and the the pretty girls and whatnot, but then there's also he'll flip the script on some all these princesses are fighters, and then he'll bring in characters like Belit and Valeria and whatnot. It's these are warrior women. And Conan sees these women as equals to him, and Belit was the love of his life. Even after he got married, beyond that, it's no other woman swept him away like the Queen of the Black Sails. So,
as a woman who has read comics since I was practically old enough to read, I appreciate when men write the characters, and they're not the femme Nazis. I don't need a man. All women should be. No, I just like when they're on par with the men, and the men recognize that, and they're like, okay, she's a warrior like I am. I don't need women stomping men down to build themselves up. I just need everybody to just get along and be warriors together.
And a great example of that, we were talking earlier about Storm, but Wolverine and Storm are a great example of that level of respect and equality, and we're partners in all this.
He's not crazy enough to fight her. He's not stupid. Yeah. He'll fight a lot of people, but maybe I shouldn't fight Storm.
Now you got me thinking X-Men.
Like I said, I am an X fan through and through, so it can.
Hey, you know what I've been doing this week, Andrea? Speaking of X-Men, I've been rewatching the original X-Men film like crazy on Disney Plus, because I still love that first film so much.
The first one was before we had a lot of superhero stuff. It wasn't bad. The second one I loved.
No, I get that. I'm just saying, I still love the first one. I know
it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't know what the dumpster fire was that was X3, but.
No, but I still love the first one. I've been rewatching it like crazy on Disney Plus. Hashtag not a sponsor.
Yeah. I haven't watched past Apocalypse because Apocalypse broke me. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Listen, I will take X-Men Apocalypse over Dark Phoenix any day of the week.
I've heard people that don't even know anything about the comics not care for it, and I, as a Phoenix sister, along with my Phoenix sister co-host, I can't. I've gotten to talk to Chris Claremont about his plans for the Phoenix and what he didn't get to do. Look, like I said, that's my crowning achievement as a cosplayer. Chris Claremont stopped his autograph line for my Dark Phoenix cosplay.
That's great, by the way. Congrats.
Yeah, that costume went up in flames, literally. So, ironically, the Phoenix did not arise from the ashes. I'll just have to remake it someday.
Andre said he'd watch Catwoman over.
Oh God, no!
I'm sorry that you.
I've heard how terrible that film is, to the point where I'm not even gonna watch Catwoman.
I've watched it because I was like, oh, cool, we've got a female-led comic book movie.
And then it turned out to be not so much.
Even Halle Berry talks about how terrible that movie was.
Oh yeah, she won the Razzie that year for that.
She accepted it too.
She did. She had the cojones to actually go to the ceremony and do a speech. She's like, I went to the highest of highs the year before to the lowest of lows to this. but I did it for you guys. Like,
She
whatever.
probably did it like right next to her Oscar. I mean, come on.
It was great.
I always like to look at things from a positive angle because there's too much negativity out there. So I will certainly say that Halle Berry looked amazing in that suit.
Well, she makes every woman feel fat looking at her, but she
more than redeemed herself in movies following Catwoman. Specifically, that came out a couple of years ago before the pandemic. It was John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. I mean, she owned that scene, man. She has 2 giant-ass dogs working for her, and she's got 2 pistols.
I love the John Wick movies, and she was awesome in that one.
Dude, she's a badass. She was great in that. And she did, like, her own stunts. She did her own training. She was, like, 53 at the time, and I'm like, damn, woman.
She's a tough woman.
Like, you ripped yourself for this movie. And by the way, John Wick 4 is coming out, I think, next year. So, yay. More John Wick, baby.
I love the John Wick movies. My brother has cosplayed John Wick.
Can I see those pictures? Send them to me.
I will. And it's scary because my brother, he always wins Halloween every year. It's not fair. My oldest brother, everybody tells me I get all the other 364 days, give him one. And for 1 year, he showed up to the Halloween party as Freddie Mercury. And then a few years later, he was John Wick. And I'm like, how do you look like both of them? Why? But he went to work. My brother works for Apple. He went to work with the blood and everything on him as John Wick. Had the pencil with the blood on it.
Oh my God!
See, I'm reminded of that episode, that Halloween episode of The Office, where everybody's in costume, and then Creed shows up in just like a normal suit, but he's covered in blood, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, great costume, Creed." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's right, it is Halloween. That's great timing."
Like, costume.
Did Creed murder somebody? Yeah.
It's happening.
Probably. Come on. If you've watched The Office, he's probably murdered at least a few people.
and you never know. Creed Bratton may have murdered Creed Bratton.
Maybe so.
Getting a little Inception there.
Well, he's claimed that he's stolen Creed Bratton's identity, even though he is Creed Bratton. So I don't know. That's a loop we don't want to go down.
No. There's only so much you can do in a 1-hour show, George.
Exactly, yes. Speaking of, Ryan, I know you got to leave us a little early, so since we were going to talk about comics here, show us what you've got to share with us here, some things you're reading.
Yeah. So I went to one of them is from my LCS, the one I had to order from eBay. But because some places just aren't available in certain places of the earth. So I got these. I read volume 1 of this. I can't wait to read volume 2. I haven't read it yet, and I apologize. And I've interviewed on my show before. Paul Kupperberg did a run of Supergirl in the 80s. So I got Daring New Adventures of Supergirl Volume 2 by Paul Kupperberg, Carmine Infantino, and Bob Oskner. I hope I'm saying that right. I may be butchering it. Sorry, Bob. But this is, I really enjoy this iteration of Supergirl. I read the first 12 issues. This contains, 13 through 24 on this. And this cover, I mean, look how badass this cover is. I mean, my God, the artwork is razor sharp. You can cut it with a knife. And Paul Kupperberg is a genius writer, a genius person who I've had the pleasure of interviewing on my show. So, Paul, you're the man. And then door number 2, I got this at my LCS. I heard this is one of the greatest storylines in the history of comics. I've not read it yet, so no spoilers.
Okay.
But Marv Wolfman, George Perez wrote the Judas Contract.
Okay, you just said George Perez. I mean.
The new Teen Titans. Got this trade in my LCS. # always support your local comic shops.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to reading this. I heard this is like essential reading if you want to get into comic books or if you want to understand the history that is comics. So, and plus George Perez recently passed away.
You can never go wrong with Perez. Super nice guy. Super nice.
Got new Teen Titans, the Judas Contract. Don't tell me what happens, okay? Don't tell me. And then I also got, a few weeks ago, I got Marv Wolfman and George Perez's other big event, Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I'll be diving into that at some point or another. But yeah, those are my 2 latest trades that I add to my collection. So there you go. Do we have any questions?
Well, no questions. I will say definitely you can't go wrong with Perez. I'm definitely in that camp there. And his, the whole Teen Titans thing kind of reinvigorated DC in the 80s. Yeah. So, and it had everything to do with the art and the stories. So, that's an awesome run.
Everything he touched was gold. He had a Midas touch when it came to comics.
Yeah.
And a super nice guy.
Yeah. Too bad I didn't get a chance to meet him.
He was here for Memphis Comic Expo 1 year, and even though he could not do a sketch for every single person in line, he said, everybody that is in this line, I will sign your autographs. They were trying to clear the con out. He'd be like, no, these people have been standing here for hours. They're getting their autographs.
Wow,
and he was taking pictures with everybody. And my brother Scoot, being an artist, was just like humbled meeting him. It's like that's an idol for anyone who wants to be a comic artist. George Perez is one of those.
I mean, that's dedication and loyalty. By the way, Andre, I have a heck of a lot more than 3 books, young man. Okay, these are just my. Listen to me very carefully, okay? Because I don't have much time left on this show. Because I do have a prior engagement. Andre, I have a heck of a lot more than just 3 books, okay? I have 2 short boxes full of stuff, which includes, single issues as well as trades and hardcovers. I just started collecting omnibuses, whatever. And then I got it. You can't see it right now. I wish I had a picture to show you here, George, but I'll tell you. I got a mountain. No, I got like 5 mountains, 6 mountains, 10 mountains full of trades and back issues I haven't read yet. So, Andre, don't test me, okay? Listen, I've only been reading comic books for 5 years, son. I'm new to this game. Cut me some slack, Jack.
Yeah,
I'll have to send you pictures of my youngest brother's trade collection.
Do it.
It's about 6 bookshelves, and that's after he trimmed it down. And he has this little ledge, like a photo ledge, because he lives in a house built in like the 40s. And he's got all of his like key issues. And he's like, some of them are not keys according to collectors. He goes, they mean something to me. And they're all the way around his ledge. And the ones right above the door, he goes, if there's ever a fire, I'm grabbing my original art, because he has an original Ryan Stegman piece. And he's grabbing, he got it before Stegman's name really blew up. Wow. And he has a couple of Michael Turner autographed books right above the door. And he's like, I'm grabbing those and going out, because Michael Turner died 13 years ago. Cannot get his autograph anymore. I got to meet him twice. Oh, such a nice guy. He was amazing.
I feel like this has basically turned into the George and I or Jello of Andrea show, because she's met everybody under the sun, whether they're still living or not. And Andre is giving me stuff in the comments, and I'm like, dude, come on. And then he says,
so it's Andre
he's been collecting for 42 years. Well, good for you, Andre. Some of us are still young, okay? So I still got my youth inside of me, all right?
I still got my youth inside of me, but trust me, the bones don't always feel the youth anymore.
I've heard that, but listen, you're only as old as you feel. Just don't let it get to you.
Depends on the day. Some days I feel like I'm 20, and some days I feel like I'm definitely over 39.
If it makes you feel any better, no one in this room or outside of the studio looks a day over 25, so... There you go. We're going to keep it that way, George. We're still youthful in these parts of the woods.
Hey, I mean, I'm a few years away from 50, and I'm doing all right. So,
Yeah, man.
I tell people that I'll be 40 in like 6 months,
Hey,
like,
I'll be 35 in September, Andrea. We can throw a party.
Yep. Loving my comics and doing my cosplay and doing my volunteer work. That keeps me a lot younger and, not getting into other people's drama.
I think George is going to end up living a lot longer, because he works in nerdom for a living. He works in a comic store, so you can never go wrong.
I'm a retail manager, so I'm a jaded jerk 5 days a week.
I mean, like the worst thing I have to deal with is like the soccer moms coming in looking for the Fortnite books.
Oh God, man,
that's about
Fortnite.
I get enough Fortnite. I work at Target. I deal with.
Hey, Target, woo!
Yeah,
if you ever need me Target exclusive like Funko Pops or something, I can keep an eye out for you.
Yeah, currently Marvel and Fortnite are doing a crossover. Issue 2 comes out this coming week. So
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I found the page, y'all. Thor leading the charge of all the women.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, look at that. That's so many awesome.
I need to get myself that trade over there, Andrea.
I got this. This is a $45 trade. I bought it on Free Comic Book Day when one of my shops was doing. All trades were 20% off, and each one more you bought, another 10% came off.
Oh, nice.
The seller is my home. I've been going to that comic shop for 30 years, even though the owner tells me not to tell anybody how long I've been going there.
30 years. I've been going to this. Back in my day, we had to...
I was there when it was selling both baseball cards and comics. Nice. It was called Triple Play originally, so it was definitely
baseball cards.
Yeah,
that's funny, because the first shop I went to in Southern Indiana was originally called Daisy Double Play, and then they were mostly baseball cards and sports cards, and they had a few new comics, and then they were taken over by my friend George, who turned it into Empire Comics, and he's been around for 30 some odd years now. So
yeah, the guy Jason that owns the seller, he started out just a part-timer there, and now he owns it.
So basically, folks, if you get an opportunity to work at your local comic shop, do it. You're going to live a heck of a lot longer than you are right now.
And the only time you have to deal, like you said, the soccer moms and every now and then the gatekeepers. But
True.
So far we haven't had any trouble with gatekeepers. We have seem to have nice civil conversations.
Which is great. That's what the world needs: is civil conversations between nerds.
Yeah,
we could solve a lot of the world's problems.
I know, seriously. I mean, look at Andrea and I. We have shows where we co-host and whatnot, and we get along with our co-hosts just fine. Even though we have differing opinions, it's fine. We can still be best friends. Like, look, she talks about Injustice this or the Justice Society and Liberty Bell, and I'm like, I don't know who the frack Liberty Bell is, but then she like educates me on the character, and I'm like, I may need to read this. Excellent Smithers. So, I mean, it's more reading for me, bro. Bring on the reading, because let me tell you something. Hashtag life is better when reading. Those are the facts. Read more, you're going to live a lot longer, and you're going to like the way you look after reading a book or comic book. I guarantee it. You see what I'm saying? See, this is my sales pitch, George. This is what I do for you on these Fridays. But I'll tell you this. This has been a blast. I love you both. You're excellent people. We need more people like George and Andrea in this society, let me tell you. But unfortunately, Ryan has a prior engagement that I have to step out and take care of. But I will say this. Thank you for having me, George. I'm sorry I got to cut out on you early, but listen, if you want to have me back for next week to make up for my, prior commitment, fine with me. I don't mind reruns. I don't mind a second episode of the series because I boost ratings around here. If you haven't noticed,
he's a man in demand. He's got places to be.
Apparently, yeah. I'm actually pre-recording something that I can't talk about because I signed a thing here. I can't say anything, but when it's released, I will let you know what it is. I just can't say anything about it right now. But you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Yeah, thanks, Andre. What's he saying? Hey, listen, I try to be hilarious. Why? Because this world is crazy. It's mixed up, and we got to learn to laugh, okay?
Need a little break sometimes.
I know. We all need a break from the mundane.
Andre Finch, man. He's one of my brothers. So.
He sounds like a nice dude. I've never met you before, Andre, but feel free to hit me up on the books of the Facebooks. Anyway. Twitter and Instagram, RyanRPM5. Check me out there. I got a million things going on. I got a lot of irons in the fire, but if you want to know more, check out the link tree in my bio. It takes you to all the sites, all the sounds, all the bells, all the whistles, all the craziness that I'm doing. But in the meantime, George, Andrea, you're both great people. Keep staying the way you are because you make each day a special day by just you being yourself. In the meantime, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Manamana.
See you, Truman.
I understood that reference. See you guys. Love it.
It's never a dull moment with Ryan around.
And then you say that he's in demands. Like, he's been on my show twice, and I'm going to be on his show in November because that's how full his guest list is for And I Quote.
And we're over here going, okay, guys, so we have this guest for next week.
Yeah. I've been on my show week to week, and like I've got I got a guest coming up probably towards the end of the month that I'm planning for, but that's because I have to wait for a certain event to be finished and this person to be available for that. So but other than that, I plan my stuff out week to week.
Yeah. Well, since we're every other week, I mean, trying to do cosplay every week would be.
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
I love it though.
Ryan was reading, so I want to see what you're reading this week here.
I have not been to my shop in a little while, so I had to empty the pull box. You'll be able to tell I'm an X fan. We got Legion of X, Excalibur. Love me some Psylocke. Right. Like, I'm a huge Strange because I am loving Clea. I am loving Clea as this universe's Sorcerer Supreme.
Yes.
X-Men Red. Okay. I think there's a couple of X-Men Reds in here. And then Immortal X-Men has been so good.
Cool.
There's the other X-Men Red. And then, of course, the Jane Foster and the Mighty Thor 1 and 2. So
nice.
I am a big fan. So those are the ones that were in the pull box this week. My favorite read that I've been doing is Captain Carter. Because
yeah, that's been fun.
That's my girl. I've loved her since Peggy Carter showed up. Because, she was only in like 1 or 2 issues way back in the day. And then they put her in the movie. They pulled this extremely obscure character, put her into the first Avenger, and she blew up. And I loved her show. And then that very first What If episode, and I saw her get with that shield, and I'm like, this is it. And I threw together her stealth suit costume within a couple of weeks. Like, Crayley and Kelly came to Memphis for a con in March, and I was finishing the suit upstairs in my sewing room with Crayley sitting on the floor. So, and I've got the stealth suit, and I've got the blue and silver shield that my friend Jeremy made for me, and I've gotten to go do motivational talks at a school in it to get some kids to do really good on their standardized, state issued tests. And the 2 questions I got the most were, can I touch this shield? No Spider-Man. Nice. I was like, actually, I do. Which one? Do you want Peter Parker? Do you want Miles? Do you want Ben Reilly? Because I'm in a volunteer group, and we have most of them.
Awesome. Yeah, your Captain Carter suit is awesome, by the way. I'm very, very impressed.
I had not done a full costume for myself other than I did a quick bombshell Marvel group with some friends to judge a cosplay contest last year. But after my house fire, I was living with friends for 16 months.
Yeah.
So Captain Carter was my first big build for myself in my 20th anniversary of cosplay. Nice. So, and like I said, the character means a lot to me. She's very much a feminist, but what I believe is a feminist. She never lets go of being who she is. She just wants some equality, but she still does it looking, she doesn't have to just be, in a suit and everything. She still is feminine and beautiful, but she's kicking ass right next to the boys, and I love that. And Haley Atwell does amazing as her. And totally. So, I unfortunately had it a little bit spoiled when Multiverse of Madness came out because people kept tagging me in the trailer. So I kind of knew she was going to be in it, but I was still so excited to see her in it. I went to see Multiverse of Madness in my Captain Carter suit because we went, we always do the Thursday showings. My brothers and I are big nerds. We have to go to the early showings with some of our friends. And the day before Multiverse of Madness came out was my exact 20th anniversary of cosplay. So I had to do it. And, it was pretty cool. I was in my suit and, people at the theater were kind of looking like what's going on? I did the same with my Captain Marvel. I wore that to see Endgame. I made it the night before the movie came out because that's how I was dealing with some trauma. So I threw a Captain Marvel suit together and went to see the movie. So I love doing it. I do volunteer work in costume. I got to tell some kids at a learning center last week how awesome it is to punch Nazis. So that was a lot of fun. They asked about fighting our villains, and I was with Captain America, and we mentioned the Red Skull, and we're like, yeah, we punch a lot of Nazis. And I'm like, I probably should have told a whole, classroom full of kids to punch somebody. But if I'm going to tell them to punch somebody, punch some Nazis, y'all.
You're okay. You can punch a Nazi. It's all right. Andre's recommending that I could dress up as Moon Knight. So there you go. So I actually, if I had my choice, I would do the Mr. Knight. I can't do the British accent, but
I don't try that. My Southern accent comes through too much that I didn't want to ruin the illusion of Peggy Carter by doing a horrible British accent.
Well, a couple of comic recommendations I can offer you. One being a Peggy Carter fan, without spoiling too terribly much. You need to check this particular book out. The new.
Oh, yes, I've seen that one. I need to check that one out.
Yeah, this is issue 2 that just came out this week. And, without spoiling too much, let's just say that Miss Carter shows up at the end of this book here. This is a mystery kind of basically surrounding Captain America's shield. There was apparently some sort of maybe possible sinister design around this. And so maybe unreleased details about its origin. Preferably the person who designed it may have actually been from Wakanda. Yeah, he may be like a refugee or something.
I will tell you, in Age of Ultron, when they had the whole reading, all these places when he said Wakanda, I was just like, I've been waiting. Like my brother is dying for them to bring Namor into it. So when we saw Multiverse of Madness, he's like, you saw that extra seat on the Illuminati. It was empty. There was a chair that was empty. He's like, that's Namor. That's Namor's chair. He's like, so.
Well, of course, it's not rumor anymore because we've seen now some of the costume design, but Namor is going to be in Wakanda forever. So, yeah. And the best part is being introduced as a villain. It's like,
yes. I love him. Namor is one of those. He's an anti-hero. He's not a hero, but he's not a villain. He is for whatever is best for Atlantis. That's his thing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's the thing, though, is that, he's an anti-hero, but the funny thing is he's also played both sides of the card.
Oh, definitely.
Completely. Like, in the 40s, he was just all nice and let's help out.
He was fighting next to the original Human Torch.
Yeah. And then you get to today where he's almost a villain at times.
He can be. I mean, he's got an unhealthy obsession with Sue Storm. Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, rightly so, but still, yeah.
A lot of people have an obsession with Sue Storm, so okay, people are still shooting off fireworks on my street. It is still sunny, and come on, guys. My cats are all jumping now. Thor and Loki are looking out the window like my neighbors are crazy.
Yeah, thankfully my neighbors have calmed down with the cats, but of the three, the two larger ones, like they're all the same age, but the two larger ones, they go hiding under the couch, and the runt, she's like queen of the castle. She's like, oh, stupid pop-ups don't bother me.
Yeah, that's my big fat cat. He's kind of like, nah.
Yeah. But another X recommendation I can offer you is Knights of X. Is a really cool book.
I was looking into that one, and the new Gambit cover is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? If you got into the X-Men in the late '80s, early 2000s, it's very cliche, but you love Gambit. You kind of have to love Gambit. He's awesome.
Yeah, he gets a little bit of a shining moment in Knights of X, definitely. And of course, I think it's coming out this week. Is the Hellfire Gala issue is coming out? So I guess more
as a person who wanted to be a costumes designer and loves comics, the Hellfire Gala outfits are just they're giving me life right now, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love that too. Like all these variant covers of all like the ball gown designs for each, each character. Like, man, it's like they're getting some cosplay service going on here.
There's gonna be a lot of things that seeing how cosplayers carry it off. There's a lot of things that are not connected because they're using their like psychic powers to make their costumes float, and I'm like, give a cosplayer time. My brother says that it is not an artist's job to make it wearable. That's the cosplayer's job.
Well, I mean, take all the people who do like the big fashion hair designs and stuff like that. And
Storm definitely has that in her Hellfire Gala. That's some
or crazy runway stuff you'll never see on the open market. It's like it's fashion. It's not supposed to be seen in the regular world. So
all I feel is Natalie Portman in episode 1 trying to hold her head up as Queen Amidala with those big hairstyles. She said she definitely learned to walk differently making that.
No kidding, man. She rolled her neck muscles up before she got ready for Jane.
Yeah. Oh, she got ripped to play Jane. Like, I want to know her workout routine because that was impressive. She's a very small woman, and she got ripped. My brother, who exercises on a daily basis, he's like, I need to know her arm routine. He's like, I want to know.
I mean,
it's amazing.
Like behind the scenes stuff, and like you notice, okay, she's got her arms kind of built up, but when she's in the armor, it's kind of not as noticeable. But like if she's in street clothes, you notice those arms just like this.
Yeah, you could tell that there was a difference to her build than what she normally has. She got ripped, and I applaud her for that dedication.
It's crazy. I'm impressed with that. So
yes, definitely.
But yeah, so there's your recommendations there for stuff you're already reading there. But yeah, being a Peggy fan, you got to get that new There's 2 Captain America books now, which is really cool. But Steve is he and Bucky are dealing with like some old conspiracy stuff. So I guess
have to check that one out. Yeah, for a little while I fell out of collecting because bills. And the pull box had to go by the wayside, but thankfully I have a brother who collects a lot of comics. So all I have to do is go to his house and be like, can I borrow that one? And he's literally got shelves upon shelves of trades and a couple of short boxes. He's like, he keeps the single issues down because he loves trades. But I'm telling you, I'll have to introduce you guys because y'all could probably have a double episode with all of your knowledge together.
Yeah, my collection is. I think I've got like about. Well, I cut down a lot of my long boxes because I was gifted a 3-drawer filing cabinet.
Yeah.
So that cut down on about 5 boxes. but I at one point was rocking 18 long boxes, and then I've got like I got like 3 storage bins that are filled with like other comics and trades and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been
Some of mine are still packed up from when I was moving after the fire, but I've got 3 long boxes under the bed right now, plus the stacks of ones that haven't been bagged and boarded yet. So,
well, here's some more books I want to share with you guys here.
Share away.
All right, so this new Ghost Rider series has been fantastic. This is issue 4 going on right now. Benjamin Percy's been writing this one. The whole conceit is that basically it seems that maybe Johnny Blaze has been compromised, even though he still turns into the writer, but he doesn't seem to have any memories of what's going on, and the writer kind of seems to be the one in charge of things. But an old 70s villain, the Circus of Crime, makes their return in this one, but it's really been a fun read because while things have been kind of out of sorts for Johnny and for the writer, all of the supernatural evil kind of knows there's a weak spot, and they've been exploiting that. So, yeah, that's interesting there. Next book here for Avengers Forever. This has been a fun run because what's been going on in the Avengers stuff right now is that Mephisto has assembled a multiversal Masters of Evil and have been just killing all these variants of the Avengers throughout the multiverse. Well, the Avengers have finally caught on to this stuff, and so now they're looking for variants that are useful to them. And in this one, we meet a whole lot of guys that have something in common with this chap right here. But not all of them have picked up the shield just yet. So, see some here like very shady looking. This guy, these some very normal looking dudes here. And then I don't know what's up with this dude here. He's a little wild, but yeah.
I love that it's Mephisto because that's the joke that behind every single MCU movie, it's Mephisto. It's Mephisto, guys. It's actually Mephisto. Because it usually is in the long run.
He is behind everything.
I mean, the Top Cow, the Marvel Top Cow crossover, it was all Mephisto back in the day.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite books I have is my Wolverine Witchblade. And I have it signed by so many of the Top Cow guys. Oh, they were so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
I met them. David Finch told me I wasn't allowed to tell anybody that I had met him like 16 years previously when I met him in 2019. He's like, yeah, it hasn't been that long. He's like, neither of us are old enough. I'm like, I met you when you were drawing Aphrodite 9, okay? But oh man, that's another amazing artist and a very humble man.
No, that's cool because I'm a big fan.
He's Canadian. He has to be nice. Wolverine's the only rude Canadian.
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of I've been trying to get in contact with Jeff Lemire, who's another Canadian great writer. Trying to get an interview with him, but he's a very busy man. So,
trying to get some of them would definitely be tricky. But
yeah. Let's see here. A couple of DC offerings I've got this week. The second issue of the Dark Crisis, big crossover here, because you can't have a big event in the DC without being Crisis.
It's got to be a crisis.
But this is features a really awesome battle between Nightwing and Deathstroke. Kind of a, all right, let's take another round here, old man, sort of stuff like that. And I was kind of a little hesitant on this big next Crisis because the concept is cool. The original Justice League is considered dead, and so now you're dealing with all these like second and third generation heroes that have to deal with like all the evil in the world coming to converge on everything. So it's okay. This is now the kids' turn to shine and step up. And so the beginning was a little shaky, but the second issue kind of brought it home a little more, and so it's much better.
Sometimes that first issue finding its footing can be tricky. You're trying to introduce a whole new storyline, and you have to have the right writer to start that first issue, because once you get that rolling, then other writers can piggyback it. But convincing your readers on that first issue, that's a tough one.
It is.
No matter who you are. Some of the best writers.
And thank you for that segue, because that brings me to my next book here. Chip Zdarsky's run on Batman has now begun. And what a dynamite opening here.
It's another one you can't go wrong with his work.
I mean, he's killing on Daredevil. He's killing it in the indies in his own books like Stillwater, selling a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I've been so excited for Batman. Tim Drake fans can get excited because we have a Robin back in a Batman book. And then we have a new villain, Failsafe. So a lot of mystery behind him. So yeah, a really cool run there. And the other thing is, of course, you've been seeing recently in DC books, you get like a secondary story in like the Superman and the Batman books. For this Batman, a secondary story is involving Catwoman, and Chip is writing that as well. So yeah, lots of good stuff there. Andre is saying that he hasn't read it yet, but yeah, bagged it because it's a new villain. So you should take it out of the bag and read it.
It's about time, Batman's fought the same rogues gallery for so long. He and Superman and Spider-Man and Captain America, all they fought the same people for so long. Sometimes it's a good thing to introduce a new villain, but it's just like that first issue. You've got to introduce it right, or people are going to be like, nope, just give me back the Riddler, give me back the Joker. They're not going to want that new villain. So, yeah, but it's in Chip's hands, so I think it'll be good.
Well, over in Amazing Spider-Man, Tombstone's kind of getting some new life breathed into him. So
I love how they pull like these not even like D-listers, they're like Z-lister villains and suddenly turn them into an amazing character.
Well, it's like, you always had like the Kingpin was like the top echelon when it came to the crime bosses. Then
right.
Under him, you had guys like Hammerhead and like I said, Tombstone and I don't know, Mr. Negative a little bit. So a lot of those like it, but yeah, it was nice to kind of see Tombstone brought back a little bit of prominence here.
That's good.
Yeah, and then a couple of indies to share for the horror fans here. The horror fans from Image Comics, the second issue of The Closet. James Tynion is writing this one here, so hopefully I need to say nothing further about that one. The plot of this one, and this is a movie ready to be shot here, but basically it is about a little boy, and he has a closet, that he's afraid of in his house. That he claims there's a monster inside the closet. He's not being facetious. There is a monster in the closet, and so mom and dad are trying to, it's okay. And maybe there's some problems going on with mom and dad that might be kind of drawing some of this evil into the household. So they're trying to convince the boy, we're moving away. We're moving into a new house. You don't have to worry about the closet monster. Yeah, you do.
That evil follows.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, there is a great scene that closes out this book of kind of a first contact sort of scene here between boy and monster, and it's a good one. I don't want to spoil that, but yeah.
That sounds like what my sister-in-law loves horror comics. If she hasn't checked that one out, I'm definitely gonna have to tell her about that one.
Yeah, it's only in its second issue right now, so of course it's James Tynion the fourth. I mean, that guy he knows his horror, but wow, yeah, good writing. Last but not least, and this is for our sci-fi fantasy fans here, I'm so excited to share this one here. Starhenge. This just came out this week. Liam Sharp is behind this one here, does the writing and the art. Basically, we're talking a science fiction sort of concept, but then probably about 3/4 way through the book, the concept flips on you and becomes a blend of science and magic. But apparently, we've figured out a way for space travel and some sort of, once we get out there, we make contact with an alien race who says, oh, good, let's take care of these idiots and conquer your planet, sort of thing like that. And so now there's this plan of basically going back into possibly our past to try to fix some of that sort of thing like that. But apparently there's a weak spot we figured out in this, highly technological race of aliens that they can't deal with magic. So why don't we bring magic back? And yeah, I really, I was into this because I love Liam Sharp's art. You can see it's, very, very out there.
That cover is very Geiger-esque.
Yeah, very painted sort of stuff. Yeah, a lot of big Geiger influence on the astronaut character here. But yeah, it has like kind of nice little, the way the first issue wraps up, it's like, oh, I see what we're doing here. So it's kind of a little bit of a heady concept, but when it comes around to it, it's like, okay, yeah, This is cool. So yeah, for your weird sci-fi magic sort of stuff there, highest recommendation on that one there. So yeah, it's some very, very cool stuff here. Yeah, Andre saying Terminator meets King Arthur.
That could be a very interesting story.
Because yeah, a little something along those lines. Yeah. Yeah. So much good stuff to share. So, well, I guess we're going to be wrapping up here because we're a little bit over the hour.
That happens a lot on our shows. Don't come in expecting only an hour at the cereal box, guys.
Well, and that's the fun thing too. Is of course we've talked about how like Facebook is kind of rewarding longer form viewers, videos and stuff like that. It's like, hey, cool, we'll give you long form here.
When you get nerds together, we can talk for hours. I'm a huge introvert, but when you get me into comics, cosplay, manga, books that I'm into, I will talk your ear off. As my writer brother and I have said in dialogue, if the two of us cannot figure it out, then the characters just shouldn't be talking. I can talk the ear off a deaf person. My dad actually was deaf, and he used to go up and turn his hearing aids off. So let's just say I could talk the ears off a deaf person. But he encouraged our nerdiness. He supported us until the day he died, and we still feel Dad supporting us. So, I mean, he encouraged my brother to draw and the other one to write, and he would look at me in costume and have no idea what I was doing, but he's like, "You look good." So, I feel bad. Ryan's talking about how none of his family is into this, and my whole family, even my sister, who is more of the horse person, takes her son to see the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies. She goes, "I don't always understand it, but I take him and I enjoy them." I was like, man, I couldn't imagine my family not being into the stuff that I'm into. Mom was sitting right next to me at Thor last night. So
yeah,
she goes to cons. She will cosplay sometimes. She supports our working on publishing our own comic books and all sorts of stuff. So, you got to have that support system. Y'all, if you got nerdy people in your family, support them. That's what it comes down to.
Everybody in my family has kind of got their own little nerdy sort of things like that, but really I could safely say I'm king nerd in my family. But I blame my dad for that 100%.
Oh, definitely.
He was responsible for buying my first comic book at 3 years old. He's the one that got me in the cool movies, that came out in the 80s, and sometimes stuff I wasn't old enough to quite see just yet, but I got to see it anyway.
Yeah.
So
Dad was that was the same with us. Dad was taking us to the comic shop. He was buying us the little, the X-Men figures in the early 90s. We had a bunch of those, the old Toy Biz ones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we had a collection, but Dad would buy those for us, and he encouraged it. And I guess it's kind of the joking, better than drugs. So.
Yeah, I mean, my comic book collection takes up a large part of the room that was formerly our dining room, but we don't really use the dining room that often. So, it's kind of like the cat room / dining room / now broadcast studio. So, it's like, but my wife's like, yeah, I don't have any problem with that, because,
That's the best thing, is to have that support. Like, I bought a house, my mom moved in with me, and I've got a sewing room. Depending on the show, I might move where I broadcast from, but there's nerdy stuff everywhere. There's not to be vain, I had a portrait commissioned of one of my costumes that hangs in the hallway, and comic books are stacked up everywhere. She's got comics that my brother has done limited covers for, and all sorts of stuff. She's like, "It's your house, I just live here." I'm like, "No, it's our house, but thank you for supporting my weird, dirty addiction, even to this day." So.
Yeah, I can't. My wife's not into comics, but I definitely get her into the pop vinyls and other toys and stuff like that. So so we'll do it. But yeah, I'm very proud of the fact that I got her into a lot of the Marvel stuff. Because of course when we got together, it was really starting to kind of kick off because we've been together for 17 years now. So it was just starting to get going. But I got her more into horror movies because that was kind of an tapped area for her, and I kind of started slow and would basically feed the would starve the fear with information. Like,
Yeah.
okay, in this scene where they're eating people, that's actually like barbecue they're eating. So like, they always go nuts when, they have these, big, feeding scenes because the barbecue smokers are going nuts. So, everybody's getting all hungry while they're shooting their scenes, and they know a big kill scene's coming up. So everybody gets to eat, So, feeding that, that helped out. But the thing I'm proudest about is like when she gets like, much more into certain movies than I do, or like, there's like, she's got like about half a dozen Marvel movies that she watches on a regular loop. I grew up a hardcore Mad Max fan, and she's seen Fury Road more times than I have. And I feel like I'm not being a good geek because I'm not representing enough. But it's like, but she just, that's just.
You represent a broader spectrum.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really cool that we kind of are able to share that sort of stuff. So like when the Marvel series, are coming out, we're always, watching those from week to week. So like we're doing Ms. Marvel right now and enjoying it. So.
I'm really, that's been one of my favorites that they've put out so far. It feels, even though she's not an Inhuman in it, it feels so close to the source material.
Yeah.
And what one of us nerds was not her in high school. That very awkward fish out of water, like, hi, I like comic books, and you all think I'm weird. So we've all been there, and I also the entire introduction to the Pakistani culture is really cool because when they created her being a Muslim superhero, the first like mainstream, she could have been really cliche, she could have been a pandering character, but she's not.
Right.
Kamala is amazing on her own and in a team. Like the Champions comics, I was so into those because it's all the young heroes. Like, I'm sick of the adults infighting. Let's just go do what the heroes set out to do. And I loved it. And there were so many, like her and Miles and like all these characters that could have been such a stereotype being filled. But because they were handled, like I said, by the correct writers, they've become amazing and very culturally significant to trying to put some diversity in there without it being forced diversity.
Sure.
You got enough white guy heroes,
Well, and I love too how like a lot of the next generation, the younger female heroes are all like really good friends. Like if you read like the Kate Bishop stuff, like each issue is opening up with, she's on a text chain with America and Cassie.
I love it.
Or like, like I said, Kamala and Miles are like, tight, so tight that it's not like a romantic thing. They're like brother and sister.
Yeah, they're just friends and they're close. And it's none of this cat fighting between the women or we have to turn the male and female best friends into love interests. They can just be friends and fight crime together.
Yeah.
No, they're really doing it. And like it's opening it up to a lot of people that might not have been interested in comics otherwise. And that's the good thing. And, like I said, it could have been pandering, but it's not because it's handled well. Yeah. And that's always my concern when I see a character, especially because let's face it, the majority of comic creators are white men. Mm-hmm. They don't know these cultures. And that's where you get worried. You're like, are they going to do it right? And they have, there's been some bad spots in the past, but I feel like they're definitely trying to make it more accessible and more appealing. And that's good. I mean, if you want your medium to continue, you have to expand your audience. And I think that was what made Black Panther so significant with the movie. We've all known he's been around forever. Like he's been around for so long. But to get that movie, with such a cast that it had, it was amazing. I mean, one of my best friends is, he's a very, very proud Black man. And he is like, it was really good to see that on screen because they let Black writers and directors handle it instead of it being through the lens of somebody else. And I appreciated that because they said, this is someone else's culture. Let's let them handle it.
Right. Like Kendrick Lamar was the curator for the soundtrack. He had like a couple songs on there himself, but he curated all that music that was on there.
And it was amazing. And that's actually one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think it had so much going for it. All I was waiting for, I always wanted Angela Bassett to play Storm. I always wanted her. That she took the headdress off and you saw the white hair, and I'm just like, she would have been so amazing as Storm back in the day. She could still do it. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, I know. I was right there too with I don't know. I mean, it's like was it Alfre Woodward who's going to be in this movie? Was it the Warrior Queen?
Viola Davis.
Viola
Davis. Tiana Parrish that is in Captain Marvel, and she's the multiverse Captain Marvel. It's got some one of the sorcerers from Multiverse of Madness is in it.
Yeah,
she's the one that was when they destroyed the original Darkhold. That looks amazing. I'm like, I cannot wait to see that movie. We're all like making plans to go see that one.
Yeah, I just saw the trailer for that yesterday. I'm like, whoa, that's cool.
I sent that to a group chat with my 3 brothers and 2 of our friends who it's mostly about comics, but I was like, who's going to see this with me when it comes out? My friend Dwayne is like, we're going, we got to.
And that's kind of it's neat. It's unfortunate it's taken this long for that story to come out, but literally the Dora Milaje are based off of this historical event.
Yeah, and I love the Dora. They're so amazing. That's why I love the joke with Black Panther and Thor both like idolizing the women warriors of their culture, and then they're like, oh wait, I can't be one of them. But they Thor idolized the Valkyries and T'Challa idolized the Dora. And I think that's really cool because that makes them very cool feminist characters too. They're like, I want to fight like those women. And it's really cool. Like I said, I look at things through a perspective of being a woman in this stuff. And that's why after we saw the first Captain Marvel, when that came out, my brother looked at me knowing that that's one of my favorite characters in the comics. I've loved her since she was Miss Marvel. And he said, okay, as a woman, how did you enjoy it? And I was like, I'm over there almost in tears, getting to watch a character I love put on the screen and be a tough badass. And, he's like, well, I enjoyed it. He says, but I just wanted to know you as a woman who's waited so long for this, how you felt about it. Cause I know you were hoping it was going to be good cause you love Carol Danvers so much. And, I appreciate that there are other fans that believe that feel that way too. And, want to see the person that it's aimed at, see their opinions. So yeah, I mean, I could ramble on about that for a lot, about the getting the minorities into the comics, men, women of different colors, backgrounds, genders, all this stuff. And I'm glad that comics are putting that diversity in there. Some of it can feel a little forced, but some of the characters it's just so organic, and I love it. I'm getting a little more in there.
And you're right with that's the people say there's this forced diversity. It's like a good character is a good character is a good character.
And how can diversity exists? Like one of my favorite writers of books is Rick Riordan, who does the Percy Jackson series, and he does a Norse mythology one, and his Loki, a child of Loki, is gender fluid. And they're like, why are you shoving that down our throats? He goes, well, 1, gender fluid people exist. And 2, if you don't know Norse mythology, then you don't understand that Loki is gender fluid in Norse mythology. So he's like, I'm just putting the stories out there. He's like, there's people that are going to identify with this because they exist. Yep. And it's not forcing something on you. These people are there. Give them their voice. Let them be seen and heard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always in the mind of like, well, if you're thinking this is forced diversity, then your bubble of your life must have been very small because, I grew up with, basically, a lot of black people in my neighborhood, so I never had that kind of like.
I'm from Memphis. I mean, I was actually the minority in my school, but I grew up with all those people, so we all just were friends. We didn't think, oh, well, that's my black friend, that's my white friend, that's my Hispanic friend. Yeah. You try not to say it often when people go, oh, well, this is how I see it. You're like, well, I have this. No, just like, shut up, back up, let them have their voice, and you just be the ally. Yeah. Shut up and let them talk. So, that's why I'm excited to see more women creating comics, more minorities creating comics,
Right.
because I work with a local nonprofit that's called Heal the Hood. And a couple of the guys that created it, they grew up in the hood. They were Black guys that were into comics and anime and kind of got messed with for it. And they're trying now to show the new generations, don't be ashamed of liking that just because people tell you, well, you're from here, so you have to like this stuff.
Right.
They're encouraging artwork and just enjoying that stuff. And I love it. I literally that was what I was doing today, was delivering parts of the comic for their superhero comic that they've made.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a Memphis-based superhero named Wake, and he is a Black superhero. And, he tackles that issue of people going, wait, you're Black. And he's like, yeah, we exist. So since you like to read comics, I'll have to get you some of the indie comics from here and send them your way.
Please, yeah.
My brothers have got a few out, and I know some other local creators that I can send a few things your way to read.
Yeah. I'm all for it. So
all about supporting the indie guys.
Well, and that's the thing is, I started out as a Marvel kid, and then basically when you had, I remember like the early indie days in like the 70s, definitely in the 80s when Dark Horse was kind of, really making it their name. But then when you had that explosion in the 90s, it's like, yeah, you had Image was everywhere, but it also opened the door for all these other small press to start coming in. So
it was no longer just Marvel and DC. And people were able to publish their books and go, this is my idea, let me get it out there and see if it sticks.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a huge kitchen sink press phase for a long time throughout the 90s, with getting, The Crow and The Tick and Milk Cheese and, stuff like that. So it's like, yeah. So it's, I love comics, period.
I'm definitely a more Marvel fan, but I'll read a book to give it a chance.
Sure.
I know my Marvel stuff way better than I know my DC, and I know a lot of Image because like I said, late 90s, early 2000s, everybody was in. Like I was a Wildcats and Gen 13 fan. I mean,
nice.
Gen 13 was so niche for the time. Yes, Spoon. We all. You had to have yelled it at least once in your life if you grew up in the 90s. You yelled Spoon.
Reference, yes. Of course, one of my favorite Tick jokes, they never actually used in any of the shows, but it's all over the original story they did of the Night of a Million Zillion Ninjas, where he's like, oh yeah, one of my favorite quotes is from Double Indemnity, where it's sure as 10 dimes will buy you a nickel. Or something like that. Sure as 10 dimes will buy you $1 or something like that. And it's like, that's such a stupid line, but that's like, it's one of his favorite lines of any movie. Or like, oh my God.
Those are the ones that stick with you. They really are.
Yeah, they absolutely are. So, all right. Well, I have taken up enough of your time, my lady.
Oh, that's fine. I am off work today and tomorrow, so I was more than happy to join you. This has been a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I know it's the first time we got to meet here because I was trying to get to hang out with all the different hosts we've got in the Cereal Box Network. So it's nice to finally get to hang with you.
Definitely, and get to just talk comics and have fun and be nerds.
I know. Yeah, I keep threatening Ryan that I say I want to show up on his and Crayley's show. He's like, but yeah, I was like, we're like the new readers, and you're the old guy. I was like, yeah, I know. It's like it's fun for me to get to experience things through your eyes.
It's watching somebody rediscover what you discovered. It's almost living it all over again, like seeing them find these comics that you're like, I'm so excited somebody else is reading this. That's been the really cool thing about talking with, Crayley about it a lot is Kelly and I both have been into comics for a long time. Yeah. Crayley hasn't. And so we're watching her kind of go through the discovery we went through. Of course, I had it from the time I was like 7. So it's a little different.
Yeah. And so you're absolutely right, though. It's so fun to live vicariously through them. So, I mean, there's every now and then I'll give Ryan a couple of recommendations. I know his stack is
Got a
I have
list.
stuff to read, but every now and then, like, okay, you're reading this, like, you really need to read this storyline right now because you're reading this thing, and so it's like you got to read this here. So
yeah, it's like if you want to catch that reference, read this. Yeah, no, I could do that all day, and like I said, my brother is even more like that. I'll have to introduce you guys because I think you would probably talk for about 3 hours if you could. Just do it on a day we don't have the cosplay cafe, and y'all can go for hours on end. Since we're at 8 o'clock our time, 9 o'clock yours, so you could talk for a couple of hours before then.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, I've still got like an hour and a half until wrestling starts tonight, so I'm good to go. So
I'm finally catching up on the Umbrella Academy while cleaning my house. So
see, everybody keeps telling me I need to watch Umbrella Academy. I have yet to, but it's like, well, it's because right now I'm watching Stranger Things. And
I just finished that last night.
Yeah, and Ms. Marvel and the new Kids in the Hall, and so it's like.
Yeah, the first season of the Umbrella Academy, I was kind of into it. The second season hooked me. So this is like the second season, I rolled through. The first season, I kind of was like, and that was the same way with Stranger Things. The first 2 seasons, because I'm also into like all of the paranormal stuff and the research, like the MK Ultra project and everything that's based on. So I wasn't as mind blown by the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things. The third season hooked me. And then the 4th season, ripped my heart out. But
Yeah, my wife and I, we have not watched the last episode of season 4 yet.
They're like movies.
We got.
They're literally movies, and I mean they're amazing. But you have to have. It's kind of hard being an adult fan. I think Andre said it earlier. Adulting is hard, and it is.
I know. Well, it's like we got episode 7, which is like an hour and 45 minutes, but like. The final episode is was 2 hours and change or something like that.
Yeah, I stopped it halfway to finish those costume pieces that I had to deliver today, and then finished watching it. And I'm looking down, I'm like, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, okay, I usually go to bed at this time because I work nights, but I've literally been watching Stranger Things for 2 hours now. So.
Oh man, I was like, I don't know if you've got around to seeing the Snyder cut of Justice League, but that's like a couple of days.
That's like me watching all of the director's cut Lord of the Rings movies in a row. So we nerds are dedicated.
Oh, I still have my badge of honor. There was a theater in Louisville, basically when Return was being released theatrically. They did a marathon of the extended cuts of Fellowship and 2 Towers shown theatrically, and then the premiere of Return of the King, the theatrical cut of Return. So I literally spent all day in the theater watching Lord of the Rings, and it was amazing.
And yeah, none of us would be upset about that. It's like the meme that said, you think I'm going to sit down and watch a 12-hour movie that is word for word from the book? You're right. Let's get the popcorn. I'm like, sign me up. I'm there.
I know. When I knew the extended cuts were coming out of the movies, then when they finally get to Return, I'm like, all right, how long is the extended cut? Like 4 hours. Like, yes.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm down. Let's do this.
Yeah. So I was very skeptical about this Amazon series coming out, but after seeing some of the trailers, I'm like, okay,
I'm gonna give it a shot. Like anything else, I go into it to see what it is, and if I don't like it, I don't have to watch it again. You don't have to yell at everybody on the internet to not watch it because you didn't like it.
No kidding. Yeah, it's like, look, somebody liked the Hobbit movies.
I didn't hate them, but I didn't love them.
Well, I mean, it's like, to me, it's like, I don't blame anything on Peter Jackson or his team whatsoever. It's 100% New Line on that one because Peter's like, okay, I can do maybe 2 movies from the Hobbit.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
No,
well, just because of the way they were going, I was really expecting watching those movies for Keely and Feely not to die at the end like they do in the books because they just were the way they were playing it. I'm like, y'all are going to make these 2 live. They killed them. I was like, okay. And that's not a spoiler because that book's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed of course, the Hobbit does not compare to the film for Lord of the Rings. So basically it's like, well, it's like if you really want a perfect Hobbit, just go back to the Ralph Bakshi animated film. So.
Yeah. The Lord of the Rings were so unprecedented in what they did. Yeah. And that's one of the things other than the fact that they are actually really great movies, they they filmed 3 movies at one time. They created technology that didn't exist to make those battle scenes. I'm one of those people, I love the extras on DVDs. Mm-hmm. And watching them showing them making the costumes, the armor, hand blown glass, so that they said they didn't want people going, oh, I have that set of glasses on my table at home.
Right.
And it was just beautiful and amazing. And same reason, like, I know a lot of people don't love the Star Wars prequels, but some of the stuff that they did for that, and as a costumer, I drool over those movies.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, is that, maybe the writing wasn't as perfect because, Lucas kind of handled a lot of it himself, and he had kind of a thing.
He's an ideas guy. He doesn't need to put his hands on all of it.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, definitely it's, I think you would almost get as much controversy of the look and how things are if we did a movie set in the High Republic, time period, because that's, you want a stark contrast of how things look in a Star Wars universe.
Right.
Let's things back about 1,000 years.
But he literally said when he made episodes 4, 5, and 6, he did that intentionally because he said he wanted the technology to be better to do the prequels.
Right.
And it was a brighter time. It was the rebels are literally cobbling things together, so it's not going to look like a pristine Naboo starfighter like in the prequels. So he had a logic to it, and they weren't terrible, but they also weren't like what fans were waiting for. And I still remember going to midnight showings with my brothers to see them, and my first cosplay was from episode 1. And I wore it at the Star Wars celebration in 2002 when Attack of the Clones came out. It was really cool. I've been to Star Wars celebrations and had a good time at those. And Star Wars is part of my life. It's part of something that my brothers and I bond over. And, I was scared to ask my brothers their opinion about Kenobi because I know how they can be. They loved it. They were so happy with it. And I was so glad because I'm like, please don't let me be happy with it. And they hate it. I'm like, please, because they're the ones that can tell you that alien's name that has 2 seconds of screen time.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
But yeah, no, my youngest brother was like, oh no, it was a solid show. He's like, I really liked it because they love the Bad Batch and the the Clone Wars and Rebels. They love the animated stuff. So they're like, if you haven't watched the animated stuff, you're not going to get some of it. But I loved Kenobi. I thought it was really fun.
I'm with you, and I'm a big fan of the comics, especially the current stuff that's going on. And so, especially in Jason Aaron's run on Star Wars,
Jason Aaron is another one of those that can just write gold.
Yeah.
I mean, he spins gold with words.
Yes, he is. But he's, his run on Star Wars, you kind of got glimpses into Ben Kenobi's journals while he was on Tatooine. So Luke's kind of learning more about the Jedi ways. So you learn more about that. So you kind of got a feeling of that in the Kenobi show.
Yeah.
And then also, we're finally starting to get, at least showing us in film and in TV, what Vader is really capable of.
That's why I loved the very end of Rogue One. When you see him coming down that hallway, you feel those people's fear in that hallway. Like Darth Vader is coming and they are terrified because they know that that's it. Their lives are over. Vader is there. You're screwed. And I loved Rogue One. That's probably my favorite of the new generation of Star Wars movies. That movie, it stands alone. It is amazing. But that little bit with Vader coming down that hallway, that was cinematic gold. It was amazing. I was scared and I'm sitting in a theater watching it.
I know, yeah. And the thing too, I love so much about Rogue One, is just, in general, but it really jazzes you up and makes you immediately want to go and watch A New Hope.
Yeah, you want to go back and start over.
Yeah,
and
you really do. But
it felt the most Star Wars of the new ones.
Yeah.
But I also like that we didn't have to make everything about the Skywalkers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited to see what they do with the Cassian Andor show.
Yes.
Because for a single standalone movie, his character was really deep. And, you know, you want to know about what made him so jaded and ready to take down the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Jen Erso. I think she is what you're supposed to do with a strong female lead. That is what a strong female lead should be. She's still vulnerable, but she's tough. She's willing to do what she's got to do, and I mean, I loved it. We could go on for another hour about that.
I mean, Star Wars has done an excellent job throughout its entire history of having strong female capable characters, starting with Leia. You know,
Yeah.
And then we get
There weren't many, but they were there. You know, that was the only thing. There weren't many, but the ones that were there, they weren't just the women. You know, Mon Mothma was helping lead the rebellion, and Leia is definitely not a pushover. I mean, she's trash talking a Wookiee the first time she meets him. Brave woman. Well,
and let's not let go of the fact that basically, yeah, there are a few women who are highlighted in the Star Wars universe, but the ones who are tend to be in charge.
Yeah. And my oldest brother, his favorite Star Wars character is Ahsoka. And I'm like, that's so cool. My brother's favorite character is a badass woman character. And that's really cool. You know, because you see a lot of women having favorite male characters, but you don't see a lot of men having favorite women characters as much. And it's almost like they're like, oh, I can't like that woman character. But he's like, oh, no, Ahsoka's my favorite, and I can't wait for her show. So
I can't wait for Thrawn.
Thrawn is going to be impressive.
I mean,
you got to do it right, but
it seems like every Star Wars show you got like a breakout hit. You know, Mandalorian was Baby Yoda. You know, Kenobi was basically Baby Leia. Essentially,
yeah. I was still surprised in the Book of Boba Fett, Cad Bane. Like, okay, first off, he looked amazing.
Yes.
And I was having a conversation with my nephew, who's a big Star Wars fan. He's 17, so you know he's a baby Star Wars fan. But he's like, he's over there going, he can't be dead. They couldn't bring Cad Bane into it and then have him dead that quick. I'm like, I love that he is dissecting this show like we do, and it's just making me so excited. But Cad Bane, like he was, man, it was impressive.
Yeah. I know, and to get a drop like that, because I was catching up on some of the Clone Wars series, stuff like that. So basically, I'd caught up to the point. And then, basically that point comes up, your cat shows up, like, oh my God, so.
But, so good. So good.
I'm looking very forward to the, of course, like August is going to be hitting us with a lot of stuff on Disney, because we've got beginning of the month, we got She-Hulk starting. End of the month is Cassian Andor's show. And then somewhere in there's also a Star Wars Summer Lego special.
Yeah. I don't need that. I've got merchandise to make for a booth in September. I've got a lot of sewing to do, and I don't need to be distracted. I work 5 days a week. My 2 days off don't need to be distracted.
I know. Yeah, too much TV to watch. I'm trying to catch up on stuff.
But that's why there's no TV in my sewing room. I would be very distracted otherwise. So.
Yeah, I've got distracted with a new podcast right now. Download, which kind of is like a history of the internet sort of thing like that. They did a special 8-episode series on the rise and fall of Ain't It Cool News, and basically the rise and fall of Harry Knowles and all that stuff. I'm like, I
can get sucked into a podcast, but at least I don't have to watch that while I'm working.
Yeah. But yeah, I was a big reader of Ain't It Cool News back in the day, so I was like, this is a fascinating podcast for me.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
we've gone a little long. Whoops.
It's like I keep trying to wrap things up, and then we start talking about other good stuff. So
hey, look, we're not going to run into a cosplay cafe episode, so we're good.
Well, I was recently found out through our technology is that as long as we're not broadcasting from the exact same spot, you guys can go as long as I'm going too. So
we have. It's been dangerous. But no, I've had an absolutely great time talking with you. This has been It's been refreshing to be a very welcome woman in the community and just talking.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to have you on here, and hope to have you on a lot more. Because
definitely.
I love talking geek stuff with geek people and everything like that. So yeah, come one, come all. That's what we're about here on the forum. So
Definitely. We'll definitely have to do it again.
absolutely. Well, you have yourself a good weekend, and we will see you next time. Oh, all right, folks. Well, we're definitely going to be wrapping it up now as we've gone a while. So thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for all your comments, your questions, and interaction, everything like that. We always love having you guys out here. So you all have yourselves a wonderful week. Go see Thor. I know I spoiled just a little bit, but yeah, next week we're going to talk much more in depth about Thor. So there's a little bit to go through on that one. So you guys have yourself a good one, and we'll see you next time on the Fanatic Forum.